The flash was my mistake. That tiny, stupid burst of light ruined everything. Or maybe it saved me. I still don't know. It was 10:42 p.m. I remember because I was about to delete the picture. I never planned to take it, really. I just lifted my phone on instinct when I saw them together. His hand on her waist. Her head tilted toward his like she'd done with me years ago. They weren't kissing yet. Not when I lifted the phone. But by the time I hit record, they were. I didn't even blink. Didn't breathe. Just stood there like an idiot behind a potted fern at the corner of that rooftop patio, while my wife kissed another man like I didn't exist. Then came the flash. I swear I thought I had that thing turned off. And just like that, Dana's eyes darted up, narrowed like a cornered animal, and locked on me across the outdoor heaters and wine glasses and half-finished truffle sliders. I saw her lips part like she was about to say something, and then she bolted, left the guy standing there, confused, his drink still in his hand. She didn't even grab her purse. I was already walking away, heading back toward the car I shouldn't have driven there in the first place. My hands were shaking so badly, I dropped my keys trying to unlock the door. That's when I heard her heels. Click, click, click. Colby, wait. Please. I turned, but didn't speak. Not right away. She looked like she'd been winded, like someone had punched her in the stomach. Her lipstick was smudged. It was just, she began, out of breath. Just a friendly kiss. I swear. That's Matt. He's in my department. I didn't say anything. She kept talking. It looked worse than it was. I didn't expect you to be here. Why are you even? She stopped herself. No. I'm sorry. That came out wrong. Please just, can you take me home? I'll explain everything in the car. Please. I should have said no. But I didn't. Because deep down, I wanted to hear it. I wanted to hear the exact shape of the lie she was about to spin. So I unlocked the car, slid in, and stared straight ahead. The worst part? She still smelled like me. She didn't wait for me to start the engine. As soon as she clicked her seatbelt, Dana leaned in, eyes wide, voice hushed like we were in a confessional booth instead of a Toyota with a cracked dash and a rattling rearview mirror. Don't say anything until you hear me out, she said, gripping the edge of her seat like the car might fly off the road before she got the words out. I didn't say a word. I just pulled onto the street. Matt is just a friend, she began, way too fast. We've worked together for years. He's touchy with everyone. Like, not in a weird way, just how he is. I took the first left too sharply. She flinched, but didn't stop talking. And yeah, okay, the kiss looked bad. But it wasn't planned. He leaned in, and I didn't want to make a scene. A scene? I said finally, my voice low. So you kissed him back to avoid making a scene? She paused. I didn't kiss him back. Not really. It was just a second. You didn't see the full thing. No, I said, my grip tightening on the wheel. You're right. I didn't see the full thing. You ran before I could. Dana sighed and looked out the window like she was trying to cry but couldn't find the energy. I almost wished she would. At least it'd feel real. You think I'm cheating on you, she said after a long silence. I didn't answer. She took that as confirmation. I'm not, she said quickly, like if she said it fast enough it would become true. I've never slept with anyone else. I swear. Matt's been a little flirty lately, sure, but I've never crossed that line. I wouldn't. My stomach twisted because technically, she wasn't lying. A kiss isn't sleeping with someone. It's worse in some ways. It's the preview. The trailer before the disaster film. We sat at a red light. I glanced over. Her arms were crossed now, defensively, like I'd accused her of something outrageous instead of witnessing it with my own eyes. I wanted to scream. Not at her, at myself. For being so stupid. For needing her to say something that would let me off the hook from making a decision I already knew I needed to make. Then she said something I didn't expect. I didn't want to come home tonight. I turned my head, slowly. She saw my face and rushed to explain. I didn't mean that like it sounds. I was feeling weird about us lately. I thought maybe staying out would clear my head. I thought we needed space. I didn't think you'd show up. You never show up. There it was. That invisible dagger. You never show up. Like this was my fault. Like I made her kiss someone because I wasn't charming enough to crash her office parties. I parked outside our building without saying another word. The porch light was off, and the neighborhood was silent except for the crickets, which, weirdly, had never sounded more judgmental. She didn't get out of the car. Instead, she looked at me and asked in the smallest voice I'd ever heard from her, "Can you come up with me?" I blinked. To talk. To be in our home, she said softly, like she was choosing every word with a scalpel. I don't want to sleep alone tonight. Not after this. That's when I realized she still didn't get it. She thought this was a rough patch. She didn't know a storm was coming. I didn't go upstairs with her. I sat in the car with the engine ticking and my hands still clenched around the steering wheel like I might tear it off. Dana waited by the passenger door for a while, hoping maybe I'd follow. Maybe I'd say something comforting and dumb like I always do. But I didn't. I just stared forward. After about a minute, she gave up, muttered something like fine, and walked up the steps alone. No drama. No tears. Just her silhouette disappearing into the dark like none of this had ever happened. I don't know how long I sat there. 15 minutes, maybe. Maybe 30. Long enough to think about all the times I'd dismissed my instincts. How I gaslight myself over and over. Like when she laughed a little too hard at texts she wouldn't let me see, or how she started locking her phone again when we used to share everything, even our Spotify accounts. I always told myself I was being insecure, that it was probably work-related, that people change, and it wasn't always about betrayal. But tonight, something snapped, and not in an angry way, more like quiet permission. I didn't want revenge. I wanted answers. So I went inside. The door wasn't locked. The lights were off. Shoes at the entrance like always, her heels kicked off in a hurry. I walked past them. My body felt numb, like I wasn't really inside it. Like I was floating behind myself, watching a man do things he swore he'd never do. I stood at our bedroom door and listened. She was in the shower. Typical. Hot water always fixed everything for her. Or at least, she thought it did. I waited until I heard the water hit the tub, not the tiles, which meant she'd turned to face the stream. That gave me just enough time. Her phone was on the nightstand. Unlocked. Not because she trusted me, but because she trusted herself. I picked it up. It was heavier than I remembered. Or maybe my hand was just shaking. I didn't go for messages first. That's too obvious. Too clean. No one who's hiding something leaves the front door open. No, I went into the Photos app. And there it was. A folder labeled Work Trips. The first picture was what you'd expect. Name tags, bland food, a projector screen with a blurry pie chart. But the further I scrolled, the worse it got. A photo of her and Matt at some conference dinner. His arms slung a little too casually over her chair. Another of them laughing in a hallway mirror, way too close, and she was definitely the one who took that one. And then, one where she was sitting on a hotel bed, hair slightly messy, wearing a t-shirt that wasn't hers. The timestamp was from 2 months ago. 2 months ago. And yet I remember that night clearly. She'd texted me around 11 p.m., saying she was exhausted and heading to sleep. I texted back, love you. She replied with a heart emoji. I remember because I stared at it, thinking how strange it felt. Cold. Robotic. Like she was replying out of obligation. I locked the phone and placed it back exactly where I found it, screen down. I should have confronted her right then, but I didn't. I backed out of the room like a thief who stole the truth and didn't know what to do with it. She came out of the bathroom 10 minutes later, towel on her head, acting like the same woman I married. She saw me sitting at the edge of the couch and smiled weakly. You okay? She asked. I nodded. Yeah, I lied. Just tired. You sure? Yeah. Let's talk tomorrow. She kissed the top of my head and walked off to the bedroom. I stared at the TV screen, still paused on the same movie I wasn't watching before any of this started. And that's when it hit me. I wasn't angry. I wasn't sad. I was humiliated. Because I let this happen right in front of me for months. The next morning, she was in the kitchen like everything was normal. Our stupid little kettle was already whistling. Her favorite mug was out. The one that said, maybe later, in cursive gold letters. And she was humming again. That same fake, cheery hum from the night before. Like she hadn't kissed another man under string lights while sipping wine paid for by her company's expense account. I just sat at the kitchen table in silence, watching her move like she was on autopilot. She wore her oversized cardigan like she always did on slow weekends, but now it felt like a costume, like she was trying to stage the cozy wife role for an audience that already left the theater. Morning, she said brightly, sliding my mug across the table like nothing happened. You want eggs or just toast? I stared at her. Toast's fine. She nodded and turned back around, starting to slice bread while humming the same tune on loop like it was meant to hypnotize me. I couldn't even make out what song it was, some top 40 trash, but every note crawled under my skin like a needle. I wanted to scream. I wanted to ask her what the hell Matt's cologne smelled like. I wanted to ask if he was good in bed. If he kissed her like I used to. If she laughed with him after. If she ever even missed me while I sat at home, fixing the sink and paying the electric and planning vacations she always bailed on at the last minute. But I didn't ask. I didn't flinch. I just watched. Because that was the new power I had, knowing. She thought we were in limbo, that she'd talked her way back to neutral ground. She didn't realize I'd already seen the folder, that I'd already made my decision. She sat down across from me with her own mug, took a long sip, and finally broke the silence. About last night, she began softly, not making eye contact. I'm sorry you saw that. I really am. I didn't mean for things to get weird between us. I don't want to lose what we have. We've just been disconnected lately, and maybe I made a mistake letting things get blurry. I raised an eyebrow. Blurry? She flinched slightly, but kept going. You know what I mean. We've been in this weird rut. I didn't want to hurt you. I never intended for anything to happen. I just got caught up in a moment. And now it's complicated. There it was again. Complicated. The coward's favorite word. I nodded slowly, letting her believe I was digesting her explanation like a good, hurt little husband. I even smiled, just a tiny curve of the lips. The kind of smile people give when they've finally stopped begging for the truth. You're right, I said. It's complicated. She relaxed. She thought she'd landed it. I took a sip of coffee, then added quietly, I just need some time. I think we both do. She nodded fast, eager to accept the soft landing. Of course. Yeah, that's fair. I think space could help. Reset things a little. I glanced at her, hair still damp from the shower, the faint smudge of leftover eyeliner beneath her eyes. It was surreal how ordinary she looked after shattering everything. I finished my toast in silence. And then I did something I never thought I'd do. I opened my laptop at the kitchen table, right in front of her, and logged into our joint savings account. While she scrolled on her phone pretending not to notice, I started moving half the funds into a brand new account I'd opened 2 hours earlier. She never looked up. She just assumed I was browsing Facebook or reading tech news. Good, because that meant she still thought she was in control. The first crack appeared on Sunday afternoon. We'd been living in this awkward limbo for 2 days, polite, neutral, even kind. I think she genuinely believed she'd bought herself a second chance just by acknowledging the rooftop kiss, and by keeping the conversation vague enough to keep plausible deniability alive. She thought I'd process, sulk a little, maybe sleep on the couch for a night or two, then come crawling back into emotional submission like I always had. But something was different now. I wasn't sulking. I wasn't accusing. I was calm, too calm, and she couldn't figure out why. That Sunday, while she was folding laundry, she casually asked, Hey, did you happen to order anything on Amazon this week? I got a weird notification about a declined payment. I didn't even look up from my laptop. Nope. She nodded, smiled like it was nothing, but I could see the calculation behind her eyes. Her fingers paused mid-fold. She kept talking, but slower now. Huh, maybe it's a glitch. Or maybe the card needs updating again. I shrugged. You should check with the bank. Dana didn't reply. She just stood there, holding one of my old t-shirts like it was something fragile, like she was deciding whether to fold it or throw it. That evening, she went quiet. She wasn't humming anymore. She didn't make dinner. She didn't ask if I wanted to watch something. She stayed in the bedroom with the door half closed and her phone glued to her hand, probably texting Matt, or her sister, or anyone who'd reassure her that he'll calm down, just give it time. But I wasn't trying to calm down. I was waiting. The next morning, she came into the living room holding her phone like it was radioactive. Ellis, she said carefully, using my full name the way she only did when something was wrong. Did you move money out of our savings? I looked at her dead on. Yeah. She blinked. You did? Yes. There was a pause, not long, but long enough to stretch the tension between us like piano wire. Why? She asked. I leaned back on the couch and crossed my arms. Because I don't trust you. It landed like a slap. Not loud, just clean. Her mouth opened, then closed again, like she was buffering. That's not fair. You're making assumptions. I'm making moves, I interrupted. There's a difference. Based on what? A stupid kiss? You're going to blow up our entire life over a moment I already apologized for. I stood up slowly, calmly. You kissed a guy? Lied about it. Laughed about it. Made me feel crazy. And then you came home, and let me sit at the table with you like we were fine. So yeah, I moved half. You still have the rest. That money's ours, Ellis. No, it was. Until you started sharing pieces of yourself with someone who wasn't me. Her face flushed red. We are married. You don't just get to take things like that. I smiled. You're right. Which is why I only took half. Legally fair. Emotionally overdue. That's when the tears came, finally. And maybe I should have felt something. But all I saw was a woman who wasn't crying because she was sorry. She was crying because her game plan wasn't working anymore. She stormed out. Not far, just into the kitchen. But the message was clear. She'd lost her grip on the narrative. And I wasn't giving it back. I went back to the couch, opened my laptop again, and started researching lawyers. Not to file yet. Not immediately. I just wanted to know my options. Because this time, I was the one leaving the chessboard with more than just bruises. I expected the cold shoulder the next day. And I got it. Dana didn't speak to me once that morning. She didn't even make the usual fake coffee peace offering. She just slipped past me with narrowed eyes, barely dressed, grabbed her tote, and left for work without saying goodbye. That was fine. I'd taken enough silent punishment in this marriage to stop fearing it. But what I didn't expect was what came an hour later. Her friend Jordan called me. Now, let me explain something about Jordan. She's the last person I ever thought I'd hear from. She's been in Dana's circle since college. The type of friend who always took her side, no matter what the context. Loud, opinionated, confident, always dressed like she was going somewhere expensive. She used to give me these little side glances during couples nights, like she knew something about my wife that I didn't. Like she pitied me, maybe. Or maybe she just saw the end coming before I did. Anyway, my phone rang. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hey, she said immediately, no intro. Do you have a minute? I hesitated. Sure. I'm breaking some kind of unspoken code by calling you, so I need you to not say anything to Dana about this. My pulse picked up. What's going on? Jordan let out a long sigh like she'd rehearsed the call and still hated every part of it. I know you saw something. I don't know the full story, but I know Dana's been spiraling. And I think you deserve to know that this whole thing with Matt, it's not new. The room felt like it tilted slightly. I sat down slowly, gripping the edge of the table. How not new? Jordan was quiet. Then, they've been texting for months. I thought it was harmless at first, just a work crush. She used to vent about how boring things got between you two. Then she'd light up whenever he messaged. It got worse this summer. She told me she booked a hotel room during a conference and that it was for herself, but I'm not stupid. She told you that. Not directly. She hinted at it. A lot. Drunk brunch talk, little details that added up. I told her to be careful, but she got defensive. Told me I was judging her. I was silent. Not because I didn't believe her, but because a part of me already knew. I'd known the night I saw the kiss, before the flash, before the cover-ups, before the pathetic shower reset. But hearing it from someone in her inner circle made it all real in a way I wasn't ready for. I'm not telling you this to ruin anything, Jordan continued. But I think you're being played, Colby. And if I were you, I'd stop giving her the benefit of the doubt. Why now? I finally asked. What do you mean? Why are you telling me this now, after years of friendship with her? She was quiet for a long second. Because I saw what you did with the bank account. And for the first time, Dana actually looked scared. Not sad. Scared. Which means you finally stopped being her fallback plan. And I respect that. That shut me up. We said goodbye shortly after that. I hung up, stared at the screen, then deleted the call log just in case Dana ever checked. I couldn't think straight. It was one thing to suspect, another to see the kiss. But hearing that even her own best friend had stopped defending her, that was a shift I didn't expect. It didn't make me feel victorious. It made me sick. Because all this time, I thought I'd been blindsided. Turns out, everyone else saw the train coming, and I was the only one standing on the tracks. That night, I didn't say anything when she came home late. I didn't ask why her hair was curled again. I didn't ask why her eyes were red. I just sat there with my laptop open, tabs filled with lawyers, apartment listings, and something else she never expected. Screenshots. I'd copied her entire photo folder to a flash drive that morning. It was time to stop reacting and start preparing. The next morning, she made pancakes. That's how I knew she was planning something. Dana only cooked breakfast when she needed something: forgiveness, distraction, a reset. And like always, she had this fake glow about her, that soft, good morning voice laced with performance, like she was playing the part of the good wife she hadn't been in a long time. The smell of vanilla and syrup filled the kitchen, but all I could taste was resentment. I didn't sit. I just watched her move around like nothing had happened, like she didn't know her best friend had already blown the whistle. She turned around with a plate and forced a smile. I figured we could talk today. Really talk. I know I've been distant, and I want to fix that. I nodded slowly, still not sitting. Sure. Talk. Dana hesitated for a second, then set the plate down. She folded her arms, a soft little sigh escaping like she'd practiced the next part in the mirror. I've been confused, she said carefully. About everything. About us. About what I need. And I think I got lost in all of that. But I haven't acted on anything. Not in the way you think. I raised an eyebrow. So you're saying you didn't sleep with him? I'm saying it didn't go that far. That's not a no. She blinked. Colby, you're twisting this. I'm clarifying, I replied, voice even. Because there's a difference between making a mistake and building a second life behind my back. Dana looked genuinely rattled by how calm I was. She expected anger, maybe even yelling. She didn't expect this cold, detached version of me. The man who'd already seen the pictures, heard the warning, moved the money, and was now just waiting for her to finish lying. I miss us, she said suddenly. I miss when we were close. Before everything got so heavy. I tilted my head. Before I found out you were sneaking around with your coworker? Yeah, I bet those days were easier. Do you want to fix this or not? She snapped, and there it was, the real Dana, breaking through the act. Her voice sharpened. Her body stiffened. The mask cracked. And I smiled. Not out of joy. Just clarity. I finally saw it for what it was. Not guilt. Not remorse. Damage control. She wasn't trying to save the marriage. She was trying to save face. And she still didn't realize how far I'd already gone. I reached for the folder I had tucked into the side of the couch. Printed screenshots. Dates. Hotel records. 3 images from her work trips folder. I slid them across the table without a word. Dana didn't touch them. She stared at the top photo, the one of her in a mirror, wearing someone else's shirt, and her face went pale. You went through my phone, she whispered. No, I said. I went through your lies. She didn't speak. Couldn't. I stood, finally, and said something I'd rehearsed a dozen times in the dark. I'll be staying at Trevor's for a few days. My lawyer will reach out next week. Don't try to play innocent anymore. It's over, Dana. The marriage, the pretending, all of it. I'm done. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. No defense. No denial. Just the sound of someone realizing they waited too long to act, and now the show had been canceled mid-scene. I packed a duffel in silence. Grabbed the flash drive, the documents, my laptop. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. As I walked out, I heard the soft thud of her sitting down at the kitchen table. Not crying. Just stunned. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't chasing her. I didn't hear from Dana for 3 days after I left. Not a text. Not a call. Nothing. And weirdly, that silence told me everything. It wasn't just guilt. It was calculation. She needed time to figure out how to spin this. To her family. To her friends. Maybe even to Matt, assuming he knew I now knew. And I was fine with that. Let her scramble. Let her feel the confusion I'd been drowning in for months. I stayed at my brother Trevor's place. A small 2-bedroom with an AC unit that rattled and a guest bed that felt like sleeping on cardboard. But I slept better there than I had in our apartment for over a year. No tension in the walls. No lipstick-smudged lies. Just quiet. The lawyer I called, Morgan Kelly, was a no-nonsense woman who didn't waste time or words. I gave her everything. Screenshots, statements, the call from Jordan, which I'd recorded legally, thanks to a handy app one never thought I'd use. Morgan went silent for a few minutes after reviewing the file. This is solid, she finally said. You want clean separation, asset protection, or scorched earth? I smiled. Just clean. No revenge. I just want out. Smart, she replied. Let her be her own downfall. Dana finally reached out the 4th day. A long, rambling email titled, "Please read this." She didn't deny anything. Instead, she leaned into the usual refrains. I was lonely. We stopped connecting. I made mistakes, but I never stopped loving you. There were no threats. No apologies either, not really. Just a last-ditch narrative that painted her as confused and hurt, not unfaithful. I didn't respond. I forwarded it to Morgan. Then I did something that caught Dana completely off guard. I told her she could keep the apartment. No drama. No conditions. I just handed it to her in the settlement agreement, along with a fair split of everything, minus what I'd already moved to protect myself, of course. Trevor thought I was being soft, but I wasn't. I just didn't need things anymore. I needed peace. The papers were signed a week later. Quietly. No courtroom. No screaming. She didn't even look me in the eyes when we met at the notary office. She wore sunglasses the whole time, even indoors. As we left, she lingered for a second outside the door and finally said, "You really aren't going to fight me on this?" I shook my head. There's nothing left to fight for. She opened her mouth like she had something else to say, something important, but no words came. So she just turned, walked away, and never looked back. A month later, I moved into a new place. Smaller, cleaner, mine. Jordan and I kept in touch, surprisingly. She even dropped by with a bottle of wine and a very honest apology about not saying something sooner. We didn't get romantically involved, and maybe we never will, but it felt good to talk to someone who didn't treat me like I was fragile or stupid for being blindsided. I started going on walks again, joined a local hiking group, took my laptop to coffee shops instead of my dark little home office. Life didn't become perfect, it just became mine again. And the best part? A few weeks ago, I got an anonymous email. No subject, just a photo. It was Matt, sitting alone at that same rooftop bar, staring at his phone. And Dana? She wasn't there. Maybe he ghosted her. Maybe she burned too many bridges. Or maybe, for once, she was the one left behind. I didn't reply. I didn't forward it. I just smiled. Because in the end, I didn't need revenge. I just needed the truth and the strength to walk away from it.